Passion and purpose. Two very common words that we hear and use every day, but possibly the two most important words in our lives. Why? Maybe that question can be best answered by asking ourselves, what would life be like without them? Passion can be defined as a feeling or a state of mind, like when we cheered loudly for our favorite sports team to win the big game, or when we cried when Rocky called out for Adrian after his battle in the ring. Well, I cried. Purpose, however, has a much farther reaching meaning in our lives. It can be defined as a mission or a plan, a direction or a reason. But together, these two words are far more powerful. Together, they inspire commitment and dedication to change, and they are the foundation for making the world a better place. When I tell you an army of do-gooders have dedicated their lives to making sure that no kid sleeps on the floor in their town, you might be thinking, how big of a problem is that? Are there really children sleeping on floors? Well, the stark reality is that there are people in our communities that can't afford beds. So yes, there are kids sleeping on the floor. And you may be thinking, well, not in my community. But I promise you, this is a very big problem and a national crisis. In fact, this was the reality of a 6-year-old girl I met a few years ago named Haley. Haley grew up living in the back seat of her mom's car. And when I met Haley, I could tell she was a special girl. She and her mom had just come out of homelessness, and for the first time were enjoying the benefits of a real roof over their heads. But under this roof, however, Haley didn't have a couch to lay on and watch cartoons, no kitchen table to eat cereal at in the morning. Her mom didn't even have a stove to cook dinner on. The only items in the house was a hot plate resting on a milk carton, heating a can of soup. When I first saw Haley's living conditions, I was shocked. But Haley was oblivious to the apparent bleakness of her circumstances, and that's what truly made her special to me. She simply was excited to meet a new friend and was all too eager to show me her first ever bedroom. Even when Haley and her mom led us back to her room, I could tell that this was her special place. It was a space where she felt safe, where she could have tea parties and play with friends and do what typical 6-year-old girls do. Her room, however, was not typical. Hanging on the wall was her school art projects next to a number of holes and cracks. And scattered in the closet were various secondhand dolls and toys. But what shocked me the most was the nest of clothes piled in the corner. And that's where Haley slept. You see, Haley growing up didn't know what a comfortable bed was. Bouncing from place to place, Haley's idea of a bed was nothing more than the back seat of a car or the occasional night on the couch of a friend's house. When I saw that pile of clothes in the corner, something inside of me changed. I suddenly saw Haley's room as a cold, empty, and lonely place where a 6-year-old girl was living. Right then, I discovered two things inside of me that I just felt I lost. And that's passion and purpose. A few weeks prior to this moment, I learned of a different family who had children sleeping on the floor. And when I heard about this family's circumstances and situation, I felt compelled to help. The thought of a child sleeping on the floor was just too much for me to handle. And I knew that I had to do something. I had never built a piece of furniture before in my life. But something told me that I had to reach out and help this family. Together with the local Boy Scout troop, we did just that. We built a bed. Watching those happy Boy Scouts sanding and drilling pieces of wood together, I thought of my own children and how I wanted them to feel the same joy from serving others. So with the leftover wood, my family and I built another bed. Not knowing what to do with this bed, however, we posted it on Facebook to see if anybody knew of another family who may have kids sleeping on the floor. And that's how I ended up in Haley's room. Delivering that bed to Haley and watching her curiosity grow into excitement when we assembled it was a feeling and a moment I'll never forget. When she realized what it was that we brought her, she couldn't hold back her excitement any longer. She started grabbing drills and slats and pulling new blankets and pillows out of packages. She wanted to see her bed. After we assembled it, Haley started hugging us, hugging the bed, and even kissing the bed. I'd never seen a child kiss a bed before. I held back the tears as I watched Haley lay down on her first ever bed. Then I saw Haley's mom with her face buried in her hands, sobbing. I could see the weight of 6 years worth of struggle pouring out of this young mother. And as a son raised by a single mom, I knew something of the heartache that she went through trying to provide for her family. It was similar to the heartache I saw my own mother endure, worried about how she was going to provide for her children when she didn't have the means to do so. Suddenly, this mother didn't have to worry about whether her daughter was getting enough sleep or whether she felt safe and warm at night. Those worries were all gone because of a single bed. And right then, I realized how impactful this bed was to this family and how much of a void it filled in their lives. What I didn't realize was how it was also filling a void inside of me. For the past several years, I had struggled feeling the weight of insignificance and dissatisfaction. I couldn't figure out what caused these feelings or where they came from. I certainly didn't have anything to complain about. I had a wonderful family and a great job. I enjoyed hunting and fishing and had a group of amazing friends. But despite all these blessings, I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Unable to identify the source of this internal struggle, I accepted that this is my reality and determined that, some things, or I should just be grateful for what I had, and concluded that some answers will just have to remain a mystery. But the answers are in each one of us, and it only takes a certain moment of reflection to discover them. Driving home after giving Haley her new bed, I experienced a moment of reflection that would change me forever. We all have moments in our lives when something encourages us to stand up and take action. But too often, we dismiss these tiny moments as insignificant and meaningless. In the past, when I had these moments, I would tell myself, I'm too busy, or I'm unqualified to take action. I was the master of creating excuses to justify why I couldn't act on these tiny moments. But after seeing the joy of their faces, that passion and purpose that I had been searching for started to swell inside of me. I stumbled on something that I knew required my attention and devotion. And I decided in that moment of reflection that no kid was going to sleep on the floor in my town if I had anything to do with it. This tiny moment filled that void that I had been so desperately looking to fill. I had found my new passion and sense of purpose. It was building beds for children who didn't have them. And out of this tiny moment was born the nonprofit organization we call Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a charity filled with volunteers dedicated to building and delivering beds to children who would otherwise be sleeping on cold, hard floors. Since that night in Haley's room, I had found my new purpose, and it occupied my every thought. I couldn't stop thinking of all the other children who may be sleeping on the floors just as Haley had been, So, with the help of family and friends, we built and delivered 22 beds, all before Christmas. The feeling was incredible, and that passion and purpose filled the void in my heart. But I ask all of you here today, can we truly change the world and make it a better place if we only look inside ourselves? I'm here to tell you that my tiny moment became the movement it is today because of thousands of others did just that. They're like-minded people who are searching for a greater purpose and felt the same desire to stand up and take action. Acting on my tiny moment lit a match and shined a light on the passion of those around me and ignited in them their own sense of purpose. And since that day in Haley's room, Sleep in Heavenly Peace has grown to over 220 chapters nationwide, operating in nearly 50 states and in 4 countries. With the help of over 100,000 volunteers who have discovered their own purpose, we have built nearly 50,000 beds for children, 30,000 of which were built in 2019 alone, and we continue to grow. But as the charity grows, so does the awareness. Child bedlessness may not be a real word, but it's a real problem. By our own statistics, we estimate between 2 to 3% of the children in the United States are sleeping on floors, sofas, or in really uncomfortable situations. Child bedlessness represents more than just a poor night's sleep, though. Children also struggle in school and deal with low self-esteem and self-confidence. A child without a bed doesn't have a place to unwind from the stresses of the day and recharge their batteries. Providing a solution to child bedlessness has filled my heart with a passion I never knew existed and has given my life greater purpose and direction. And it was ignited by a single tiny moment. What is your tiny moment? Life brings us a set of challenges to each one of us, and we deal with them the best way that we can. I recognized that there was a void in my life, and I had lost that passion and my own sense of purpose. But a little girl needed a bed. I'm just a farm kid from Idaho who decided to act on my tiny moment, unaware how significant it would be. And from this action, Haley received a bed, and so did tens of thousands of children across the globe. I didn't expect that this tiny moment would give greater meaning to my life, but I now know what life means when it's led with passion and purpose. And I ask all of you, have you had your tiny moment? What will you do with it now?